So in this video today, we're going over the quiz 4 practice and review. So the first thing says find the measure of angle AB and ACB, sorry. So first thing you should notice is if this is an isosceles triangle, that angles A and B are congruent. So that means A plus angle B is equal to 120, right? Okay, so those are going to be equal. So couldn't we just say that 120 divided by 2 is equal to 60? So that would be 60 degrees, and this would be 60 degrees. And remember that this is a straight line right here, so 120 from 180 is also 60 degrees, okay? For B, we're going to add these together, and they set them equal to 180, right? So 30 plus 35 plus the measure of angle B equals 180. So we're just going to do 30 plus 35, that's 65, and aren't we going to subtract that from 180? So that's going to give us 115. So the next one is find x and y. So first thing you should notice is that this forms a line, so we're going to add those together, set it equal to 180. That's going to give us 3x minus 18 equals 180. So that's going to be 3x equals 198. So x is going to be equal, when we divide both sides by 3, 66. So I'm going to put that 66 right here, because that's now going to help me solve for those two angles, which also form a linear pair. So we're going to do 66 plus 2y minus 12 equals 180. So that's going to be 2y plus, what is that, 54 equals 180. We're going to subtract 54 from both sides. So that's going to give us 2y 126, because we're subtracting 54 from both sides, and y is equal to 63 degrees, okay? So there's our x and our y. On this next one, again, remember these two angles over here added together equal this angle over here. So we're going to say 3x minus 24 plus 2x, that equals 4x plus 11. So that's 5x minus 24 equals 4x plus 11. We're going to subtract 4x from both sides. That gives us x. We're going to add 24 to both sides. That gives us 35. Then we're going to plug that back in. 2 times 35 is 70. Right? And then 3 times 35 is 105, minus 24 is going to give us 81. Okay? So that is the other angle up here. So that's that angle right there. Okay? So on this next one, you should notice that L is congruent with S, right? That N is congruent with R, which means M 1, 2, 3 is congruent with T, okay? So can I just solve for M by adding 55 to 65 and then subtracting that from 180? So isn't that going to be 150? Sorry. No, 120. So that leaves us with 60 degrees. So that means this angle up here is 60 degrees. That means this one over here has to be 60 degrees, right? Okay, so on this next one, remember, if 90 is already taken, then these two angles added together have to equal 90, right? So aren't we going to just go 90 minus 41? Isn't that going to be 49 degrees? Indeed. On this one, we're going to add these two together, and they're going to be equal to 57 degrees, because it says that angle, that big angle, is 57 degrees. So we're going to say x plus 7 plus 2x plus 19 equals 57. So that's going to be 3x plus 26 equals 57, so 3x is equal to, what is that, 21? No, 31, okay? Going to divide both sides, so that's going to give me 10.33. We're going to plug that back into both equations. So that's going to be 10.33 plus 7 there, and 2 times 10.33 plus 19 there. So we got 17.33 degrees for this one, and then we have 39.66 degrees for this one. So for number 8, it tells us that these lines are parallel, right? Okay, so then it says that this is 3x plus 2, the angle over there, and this angle over here is 9x minus 14. So notice that they're not the same shape, so we're going to add them together, set them equal to 180. So 3x plus 2 plus 9x minus 14 equals 180. That's going to be what? 12x minus 12 equals 180. We're going to then add the 12 to both sides. So that's going to be 12x equals, what is that, 192. So x, when we divide both sides by 12, is going to be 16. Then we're going to put that 16 up here. So 3 times 16 is 48 plus 2. So that's 50 right there, which means that other angle over there should be 130, right? So 9 times 16 minus 14 is, guess what? It is 130 degrees, okay? So that is measure of angle F and angle A. So what is the relationship with angle B right here? So isn't that one going to be 130? Mm-hmm. Because 50 minus 180 minus 30 is, minus 50 is 130. Oh my goodness. And then we got angle E over here, and isn't it corresponding to the other one? So it's going to be 50 degrees, right? And then we have G down here. Got that? So this is also going to be 130, right? Remember, all those angles in there are going to be, if they're obtuse, they're going to be congruent with one another. And if they're acute, they're going to be congruent with one another. All right, so I told you, my students, that if it's these properties, reflexive, symmetric, and transitive, that we're going to say 1 for reflexive, 2 for symmetric, and 3 for transitive. So that's how many things we have, right? So which one is reflexive? One thing. The last one, right? If n is congruent to n, if angle n is congruent to angle n, then this is going to be our 1, because it's just one thing that's shown there, right? Look at G is congruent to H, then H is congruent to G. That's 2 things, right? So this is our C. So sorry, this should have been B. And then our transitive property, K is congruent to L, and L is congruent to M, then K is congruent to M. And notice we've got 1, 2, 3 distinct angles, right? So that's going to be the transitive property, okay? All right, so on these last ones, let me just show you a little chart. So when I do this, I do it like this. I say YX here, right? XY there, YX there. They're going to flip for 90 and 270, right? So remember, everything over here is negative, so that's why that's negative. Everything down here is negative, right? And then all the values that are over there are negative there, okay? So let me make these negatives clear. That's negative there. That's negative there. Both of these are negative there, okay? So when we start going through these rules, 90-degree clockwise rotation, isn't that right there? So where's y negative x? That's our G, right? Okay. Then we've got reflection over the line y equals x. So on this one, this is always going to be, they're going to flip, right? And then they're both going to become negative, yes? So that is F. Then we got 180-degree rotation. Isn't that this one down here, right there? So that's negative x, negative y. So that's our A. Then we got a reflection over the x-axis. Now let's think about that. If we're reflecting over the x-axis and we got something up here, what changes? The y, right? So it's going to be x, negative y. So this is going to be C. Then we got a 90-degree rotation. So that's going to be where? Right there, right? So that's negative yx. Negative yx is D. Okay. Then we got a reflection over the line y equals x. Again, remember with this one, they just flip, okay? The other one they flipped and changed signs. This one they just flip. So that is going to be B. And then we got a 270-degree rotation. Isn't that the same as this one? It is, okay? So these two are the same thing, so that's going to be another G. Then we got a reflection over the y-axis. Again, let's think about that. So if we got a point here, where's it going if it reflects over y? Right there, right? So what's the only thing that changed? The x, right? So that's going to be negative xy, which is E. And then this last one is a 270-degree clockwise rotation. Isn't that going to be the same thing as a 90-degree rotation? It is. So that's another D.